Hello everyone and welcome back to another exciting episode of A Day in the Life of. I'm your host Anjali Shukla and today we are going to explore a day in the life of a MS Microbiology student. Today we have with us Purva Kalel, who is pursuing her masters in molecular microbiology and immunology and also working as a graduate research student at Dr. Machida's lab. So without wasting any time, let's dive into her day. Welcome to the show, Purva.
Hi, Anjali. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me on this episode. And that was a great introduction, so thank you for that. I'm really excited to see where this goes.
Let's start with your typical day. Purva, please walk us through your day from morning to night.
First of all, as a microbiology student, I'm also pursuing my master's along with my thesis. So, since I'm in my third semester, mostly I want to focus on my research and to get my thesis done. So my typical day starts with waking up at around 7 a.m. And since I also work part-time in university, I also work from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So before that, after waking up, I get ready. I also make my tiffin, get going to university on my work. There I work till around 12 p.m. to sometimes 1 p.m. Have my lunch, and then I go to lab. And from around 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. I'm working in the lab. Sometimes I get time in between where I usually focus on writing my thesis. I also connect immensely with my lab members and discuss their research ideas. And sometimes I also like to help them with their projects. So I'm currently working on almost 2 to 3 projects where I'm not only focusing on my particular research of area, but I'm also helping my friends/colleagues to get their work done. And after 6 p.m. I usually come back home by bus. Then I cook myself some dinner. I usually don't like to work when I come home to just kind of have that work-life balance. I try to get all the work done when I'm in the lab. And when I get home, I just cook, I connect with my friends, my family, and then I usually sleep around 10 p.m. So I have good 8 hours of sleep. So that's how my day looks like usually. However, I must mention that this is only because I'm in my third semester. In the first 2 semesters, I used to have a lot of classes. So I did not have time for work. So I would usually get up at 6 a.m. or something like that and get to my classes in around 9 a.m., do my classes, go to lab, again go to a class if I have one, and study for exams. And so the scenario in first 2 semesters was pretty tight because my schedule was more packed in first 2 semesters. But right now I'm just focusing on my thesis, so it's a little more relaxed, and I like it this way because I'm able to focus on my research more.
Wow, that sounds like a busy day. How do you manage your schedule with your academic and work as well as personal time?
Because it's very, very important to have the work-life balance. So when I was in my first 2 semesters, I had a lot of classes. I would usually invest almost around 20 hours a week in classes, and I would still have to work, and I would still have to do my lab work. So sometimes I would come home at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. in the night, and I would be so tired that I would sometimes skip my dinner or my lunch because my schedule was just too tight to do anything else. And that kind of at some point got to my mental health, and it was very, very difficult to have my personal time to myself. However, I have decided this semester that I will give more priority to my mental health as well as my academic and work. And I'm so lucky that my mentors in lab and at work are very, very supportive of having that work-life balance. We usually have the activities that allow us to get some time to ourselves to relax and to kind of unwind from the work. As I said before, I usually try not to do work after 7 p.m. when I'm at home. I usually like to get all of my work done during the daytime. So when I come home, I never open my laptop or emails or Slack, which we commonly use to connect between the colleagues. I also usually take breaks in between when I think that I'm looking at screen too much. So I just hang out with my lab mates. Sometimes we go out to get coffee or go out to take a walk in the sun and just kind of unwind from to maintain that balance between work and life in general.
Purva, you also did an internship with a cancer therapeutic company. Can you please share some of your experience with us? How were your days as an intern?
Well, as an intern in a small industry which was more focused on cancer therapeutics, my day would usually be filled with a lot of learning and understanding new techniques and just overall a very good learning experience. So it was a very small company with a very focused mindset of having work-life balance. So they would usually allow us to do work from home, but I would prefer to be more on site because I wanted to learn as much as possible every day. So I would try my best to do my 9 to 5, and sometimes I would like to stay a little bit more until 6 or 7, just sometimes just to get my experiments done. Just only because I was so excited about the opportunity and I wanted to learn from these amazing scientists. And then in the beginning of my internship, I would have one-on-one with my manager where we would sit together and decide what we're going to do today. Sometimes we would have a plan for the whole week, and then I wouldn't have to follow up with him. I would just go onto my experiments and kind of update my progress on meetings with him.
Cancer therapy is quite a different domain compared to pharmacy and microbiology. So how did you develop an interest in this field?
Yes, working in cancer therapeutics industry was way, way different than what I learned during my pharmacy background. And so during the corona pandemic, when we were all forced to sit at home and learn, I used that time to build on my molecular biology knowledge, and then I developed the interest for making an impact in cancer biology and cancer therapeutics overall. And it was during that time that I realized that I wanted to move from pharmacy more into microbiology field or cancer biology field, simply because I developed immense interest in the field. And later on, I realized that USA is a very good country to do my research because USA has great resources, great opportunities, and good amount of funding to do research on new technologies that are coming up in cancer biology. And so definitely I wanted to pursue my master's in USA, and so far it's going great. The projects that I'm working on have very good funding. When I was doing my internship at Cytomx Therapeutics, they also had very good funding, and they were working on new drugs that were potentially going to change the way we look at immunotherapy today. And so that was also very great work, and I'm very, very grateful to have had that opportunity, and hopefully it will help me in the future. But for sure, it started during my pharmaceutical years, where I realized that I wanted to be more on the pharmaceutical biology or pharmaceutical biotechnology side more than pharmaceutical side, if you know what I mean. Of course, I had interest in drug development, drug technology, but I wanted to be in the earlier stages of drug development. I wanted to be on the drug discovery side and trying to understand the underlying mechanism that cause the diseases and what are the targets that we can use for the drug development eventually. So that's how I built on my interest and pursued my master's.
We would also like to know about your experiences during your transition from an Indian student to a USA student. What were the challenges you faced and how did you manage to overcome those difficulties?
One of the biggest challenges that I faced while I was transitioning into USA from India was, of course, the cultural shock. Simply because in India things happen way more differently than they happen in USA, and I took some time to wrap my head around it. But USA is a very healthy country to work in. So that transition was actually quite smooth, and I loved transitioning through it. However, one of the biggest other challenges that I faced includes, of course, living alone, living far away from family, and knowing that there is 7,000 miles of difference between you and your family and your friends. And so maintaining those long distance relationships were very, very hard, very tough. But I'm very, very glad that my friends always try to make sure that I feel at home, always check up on me, and they're still my biggest supporters. So I'm really grateful to have the best friends and family ever. I am learning to live alone and getting comfortable under my own skin. The other challenge was to cook, clean, all on your own. I know it sounds a little bit weird, but it was a little bit tough, especially when you're working whole day and you also have to come home and cook for yourself or your friends. You have to make your own tiffin, which I had never done before. So it's still a little bit tough for me, but eventually I'm getting used to it.
That's quite a journey, but I think you're doing great. Moving on to our next question. Can you please tell us about your future plans and how you're going to proceed after your master's?
Since I am almost on the finish line of my master's, I think I will try to get a job in industry simply because I loved being in industry during my internship and I want to continue my journey in the industry for a while. But I do want to open the door for PhD, so I want that option open for myself, simply because it's very important to sometimes have a PhD to get on an authoritative position, which I really look forward to at some point in my life. And just PhD allows a different perspective to look at science and do science. So I really do want to do a PhD in a couple of years to kind of acquire that higher level of perspective and just approach towards science. So that's definitely one of the plans.
That's great. Purva, you're also working simultaneously in a lab. What are the major skills that you find yourself applying in your day-to-day work?
I think there are two main things in the research that I have learned to apply in my day-to-day life, and those are the two skills that no one prepared me for. So it was kind of a journey to come into this field of research and learn these things. And one of the most important things is repeat. When I was working in industry, my manager always used to say that in the research is repeat. And I never quite understood it until I started experimenting and I realized, oh my God, this is not a cakewalk at all. Sometimes you have to repeat the same experiments almost 10 times and you still have to be okay when you go back home. You have to keep a happy face on. And that's just how research goes. Sometimes things don't go your way and you have to keep repeating things without letting science get to your head or affecting your mental health. And the second thing that I learned about research is troubleshooting, that always expect that something will go wrong. And when it does go wrong, you should be able to trace back your steps and kind of understand how you can fix them. And that comes with a lot of experimentation and a lot of experience in research. And so I think PhD students are quite good at that. They are inbuilt to kind of point the mistakes very quickly. And I do look forward to being a PhD student in the future, to be able to gain that, again, perspective towards science. No one actually prepared me for, but they happen almost all the time in research.
Let's end with any piece of advice you would like to give to students.
The one advice that I would love to give, actually every student, of course, but especially people who are coming into research, and especially those that want to pursue international opportunities. And this advice goes to all of my friends who wants to do something new, do something different. The main advice I would give is don't hesitate from taking risks. And the success is right outside your comfort zone. As long as you cross that comfort zone, you're good. As long as you're prepared to take risks, as long as you are saying, oh, I can do it. I'm scared to do it, but I will do it. You're good. Nothing can stop you if you are open to risk, if you're open to opportunities. If you always try to be in your comfort zone, and if you're never brave enough to take the risks, it hinders your success, it hinders your progress. So that's my advice to all my friends.
Thank you so much, Purva, for giving your time and these valuable insights. It was great having you with us. And also thank you to all our listeners for listening, and stay tuned for the next episode.